Welcome back for episode 38 of Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on July 6, 2016 on twitch.tv. Big shout out to the chat here. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. This is your host, Blue Crew 86. Alongside me, we have the man who, it has been said, has the voice of a flower, Just Insane 0516.
What's up, guys?
Next up is the third member of our merry little band, our friendly neighborhood spokesman for Payin, Steamin' Willie Beeman.
Payin sensing with you, my children.
We're also being joined tonight by a returning guest, Demigod257 and Unisys12. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm excited.
Yep, we're good.
The topic of today's chat is going to be over the Guardian weapon lore. Before we get into that, however, I do want to run through just some quick notes. In our last chat, we took a look at the lore of the death and resurrection of Guardians. If you missed that and have any interest in hearing our thoughts, please be sure to check out www.focusfirechat.com for archives of all previous chats, as well as links to all our various other pages. If you don't mind, please give us some feedback on iTunes or through our email, focusfirechat@gmail.com, to let us know how we're doing. As many of you already know, Focus Fire Chat is a cross-community gathering where the intent is to offer a week-long, in-depth view of a particular subject from within the lore of Destiny and other games. This chat begins every Tuesday morning and runs until the following Tuesday, with topics decided by the group via a poll that begins every Friday and ends on the Tuesday morning of the new chat. Every Wednesday, at around 10 p.m. Central, we get together to stream a recap of the previous week's chat for all those who are unable to participate. Our next chat is going to be a discussion on the lore surrounding the Crota Inns raid. With that all being said, let's go ahead and just dive into the lore around the Guardian weapons. And I'm gonna let Uni lead the charge into the breach on this one, since this is kind of his wheelhouse.
Awesome. Is there any particular place you guys want to start?
Well, what if we started with just some basic intro to the guns in general? The different types, primary, secondary, heavy, just kind of start really, really broad and then kind of narrow down to specifics, just to give everyone kind of a starting point where we're going to be talking about. So when we start using, auto rifles, hand cannon, we use all that pretty fast and loose, that makes a lot of sense to us. But I don't know if everyone has quite the level of comfortability with those terms. So that's kind of where I was thinking we could start.
Okay.
You want to take auto rifles?
Yeah, so probably the most popular auto rifle everyone knows about, Kavasta. But what?
Certainly the best made.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. But yeah, so in chat, the majority of the auto rifles we spoke about were just really, we covered 3 of the main exotics. We had the Monte Carlo, Hard Light, and Zalo Supercell. We spoke about those. Monte Carlo had a lot of really interesting conversation around it. Believe it or not, 2 reasons. One is your fascination with probability kilns and its possible connection with those. And Hard Light and a possible connection with the GNT collaborative, which was a fairly interesting conversation. And it's an Omelon weapon, which is really cool. There was a huge conversation about essentially how Omelon weapons work. I believe it was Taylor B that spoke quite a bit about that. and we can go into that. And Zalo has a interesting tie to a Zavala quote that a lot of people, or speech, if you will, that may or may not be familiar with. And actually, I wasn't that familiar with until I believe it was Drimbus, I believe is his name in chat, pointed it out to me. And Monte Carlo, for one, starting with it, Monte Carlo itself is actually known as a computational method to compute probability and estimate uncertainties in simulations. Now, the reason I bring it up and the reason we talk about it is because of the City Age card. And this is where I believe it's where the probability kilns are mentioned. Does anyone want to read that in particular, or?
I thought we were going to go with the auto rifle card.
Yeah, let's start with the auto rifle card, and then we can hit Monte Carlo, and then we can talk about the cat with the toast on its back.
Yes.
There we go.
Oh
yeah.
my god.
Yeah.
We need to link that video, Justin, so everyone knows what we're talking about.
That's not a video. That's in a book.
No, there's also the video. Okay, never mind. We'll talk about it after. I have a video of it.
What?
So.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right, moving on.
So auto rifles. You want me to, I'll grab that one if you want to grab. Unisys, grab Monte Carlo, and then we'll just transition right in.
Okay.
Sound good? So auto rifles. Basic description is all-purpose weapons of war. The standard auto rifle is ideal for a number of combat scenarios. Stability is key to controlling fully automatic weapons. And then we'll narrow it down a little bit more with the Monte Carlo.
Right. So the flavor text of Monte Carlo is there will always be paths to tread and methods to try. Roll with it. The card actually reads, originally designed as a showpiece, the Monte Carlo's sleek demeanor and intricate firing system make it more than a fashion statement. In the right hands, this beauty puts all the risk at the wrong end of its bayonet.
It also really looks like a Cabal weapon.
Yeah. It looks like.
The design's okay, but it doesn't really feel like an exotic to me personally in game.
Mm-hmm.
If you like smoke bombs, it's awesome.
Oh, geez. No, if you like smoke bombs, you just need to use those, the...
Double space biscuit arms. Sorry.
I don't think...
I'm pretty sure that's what they're called.
I'm pretty sure they're called Steel Ahamkar Spine, or
grasps. Yeah, double space biscuit grasps. Sorry.
Double space biscuit. Jesus.
So Monte Carlo. Just if you've never gotten it in game, it's the exotic auto rifle that pretty much reduces your melee cooldown by doing damage. I don't think it's tied to kills. I think it's just doing damage. Is that correct?
I thought it was kills.
Yeah, you're talking to someone.
Yeah, I think it was kills.
Nope. No, it's dealing damage with this weapon reduces your melee cooldown.
I have one exotic that I care about. And that's the Mida.
No Land Beyond all day, baby. Come on now.
So
I'm playing. That's what I always run trials with.
But so, Uni, you had already. I think you had already talked about this one, but the Monte Carlo simulation is the risk analysis for the probability distribution. I believe you already touched on that. So, I mean, that's what I think.
Correct.
It's also the roll with it is kind of a nod. I take that
to gambling.
Well, to the Monte Carlo simulation. Yeah. So,
which I read a little bit about that whole simulation and that's essentially what it is it randomly picks numbers, and okay, what happens? Nope, that's not what we were looking for. Let's just randomly pick some more numbers. Nope, that, you know.
So it's the RNG that Bungie uses.
Correct.
Is what
You should just roll with it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Correct.
Well, we all know how great Bungie is with the RNG. I mean,
Yeah. Mine's on point. So do we want to get the city age card real quick?
Yeah, you want to grab that, Justin?
Yeah, I've got it. The city age. When did the city age begin? Perhaps when the bulk of the world's survivors lived beneath the traveler, rather than in the wilderness, or when the Titans raised the first wall, or at six fronts, when the city first faced coordinated, overwhelming attack, and repelled it decisively. The city did not rise without struggle. Warlords and wilderness fiefdoms clung to power and starvation. Disease and anarchy menaced, but the guardians held the frontier, and the children of the Golden Age kept the fire burning through the long climb back. Legends walk through this history. The Iron Lords, Saint 14's crusade against the fallen, the Mask of the Speaker, the Great Ahamkara Hunt, Toland's madness, the terrible faction wars, and the horrifying, disastrous effort to retake the moon. As the city learned to walk again, it found a world overrun by alien menace. It faced disaster and defeat. Even in recent years, as the Guardians began to venture back to the moon and the inner planets, the city's territory is withdrawn. Outer sections abandoned and converted into fortifications in the wake of the Battle of Twilight Gap. But the city's shipwrights and foundries hum with energy. The probability kilns and work cooperatives produce new wonders. The darkness is rising again, but so is the light.
you know what gets me mad about that card?
What's that?
We know at least something about every subject they mention in that history, except for the Speaker's mask. Only thing we know about that is that he wears it. I want to know that story.
So
that kind of may be why they mention it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the... I mean...
Well, because we know the warlocks... Sorry, Justin.
No.
We know the warlocks wear hoods because they believe in the importance of what is spoken, not who is speaking. And that could be a translation also into the donning of the mask of the speaker. It's more important about what is being told rather than who is the speaker. Literally,
or maybe
not.
He's Nokris and he doesn't want to see.
Don't get me started on that theory. Don't get me started on that.
So that was kind of a long walk to get to probability kiln. I was starting to suspect that I had gotten the wrong card, but yeah, it's just kind of this nod to the fact that there's this mysterious, unfathomable technology at the heart of the city's foundries, churning out weapons like the icebreaker and Suros regime and other things that kind of defy our definitions of physics.
Right. All because
one of the
cat and jelly.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, one of the neat things that we talked about was I got a little overly obsessed with the logo that's on the side of it.
No,
and
you didn't.
No, I know. That never happens. What's with this? Anyway, Rhino 666 actually went way out of his way. And I guess he got a little obsessed too. And actually used a sniper rifle and went in and got a really good up-close shot of it. And we couldn't determine if it was a sword and wings or if it was a sword and a lotus flower. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different ways you could go with it. But the one thing that we all kind of came back to was the slight possibility of how it could be tied to the group that is no longer mentioned in game, the Seven Seraphs. Mm-hmm. Because we know that the Seven Seraphs were in charge of, they at least had dealings with the war minds. And we know from the Earth Walk walkthrough or whatever that they did, that they were in charge of the actual placement of the war mines in the different areas. So if these guys had ties to the war mines, wouldn't you think that they would be tied also to these massive supercomputers that they call probability kilns? And that's me. That's not Rhino or anyone else. That's just me kind of sitting there going, hey, that kind of can make sense. So anyway.
Josh just throwing. Yeah, I mean, the connection to the Seraph, I think, was stemming from the Lotus Blossom, which looks very similar to... Right. It's if anyone's out there who has looked at this, it's a very, very poorly resolved image. Like, we can't actually get a clear image of it so far, right? Which is where some of the confusion comes from. There was a thought that it could be an emblem, but we couldn't find an emblem that matched up with it. There were a couple that came kind of close, and I can't remember which one it was necessarily, but there was like one that was sort of close, but not really. Like, it's a very unique logo, and normally you'll notice if you play Destiny enough that most of the weapons carry a logo of some kind, whether that be the more popular, Suros. We have a few of the lesser known ones like Nadir. Amalon is really popular. Nadir is the other one that or Hake is the other one that comes to mind. I don't know if the other... We'll get into the foundries a little bit later, but most weapons and armor, just in general, the foundries are very, very, I guess, territorial about marking their stuff because it's advertising for them. So that's why we kind of focus on those logos. Now I know I don't want to cut the conversation off, but I do know there is a couple other auto rifles we wanted to mention real quick.
Hardlight.
Hardlight's the fun one, the pinball gun. Willie, you want to grab that one?
Yeah, I'll grab that. Hardlight. Ionized polymer, symbolistic attack platform. The system's lethality is dynamically robust across tactical spaces. As the city's understanding of the Golden Age methods expands, foundries continue to push a cutting edge of tactical armament. The Hardlight prototype is a showcase, built with the rarest recovered materials and the most computationality demanding design methods. The design team included several specialist exos and at least one Warlock Phantonaut. In its current iteration, the Hardlight design fires a superheated polymer round with exotic capabilities, which, of course, we all know that the exotic perk on it is it bounces around like Blue so affectionately referred to as ping pong balls.
It's a pinball gun. That's what that thing is. If you ever stick your head into a hallway and you see a barrage of bright blue lights coming at your face, that's what this is. Especially if they're bouncing off the wall and then hitting you. It's really annoying.
A really good map to use that on is the catch.
Yeah.
The drifter.
Yeah, drifter.
Yeah. Plus, just hallways. Watching those bodies float, so fun. I love that map.
So, and I know, Uni, we kind of tossed around the potential connections to the GNT, and I know you personally know a fair amount about the GNT. So you want to run through the GNT and tell us, kind of explain to us basically what that is?
Yeah, I mean, essentially the GNT is it's actually a really cool organization. We don't know a lot about it, which kind of makes them cool. They are a collaborative group, really more I kind of look at them as more of a research unit, if you will. They make a lot of armor primarily, but we know that Phantonauts and Exos and Morlocks specifically work for the GNT. They're all part of the collaborative. The reason it's called a collaborative is because the GNT works with other foundries to develop weapons. One prime example of that is a slightly unknown rocket launcher that probably in year one everyone has dismantled 1,000 of, called the Harbinger, oddly enough. And their apprentices actually rebuilt Baron rocket launchers into these Harbingers. And I think that's just a cool throw that Bungie does, where this was a year one weapon and it was called a Harbinger, and at that time we had no idea what a Harbinger was. But anyway. But yeah, that's kind of the GNT in a nutshell.
Oh, now when did it come out? Like because we knew about the Harbingers when House of Wolves came out.
Harbinger was for the vanilla rocket launcher.
Yeah, this was the vanilla one.
That was way back in vanilla.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
at the
it could
time,
just be Harbinger,
No,
the
that was
word.
hashtag foreshadowing.
Right. Well, and kind of ironically, that is what the word means, is a person or thing that announces or signals the approach of another.
Yeah.
So,
like a herald.
yeah.
Bungie knows what they're doing. They know what they're doing with it.
Yeah, there's another year one or vanilla weapon too that we'll get to eventually. I will mention it at some point. It's the 1, 2, 3 syzygy.
Oh yeah,
No,
this is a
The zigzag.
The zigzagging.
yeah, zigzaggy. That's it. I'm sorry.
Well, but the
I mispronounced
GNT,
No,
that.
it's supposed to be Syzygy, right?
it's zigzagging. That's what it is.
No.
But did you? And the other cool thing about the GNT is the majority of their stuff is armor. It's not
Correct.
weapons, and that's what I always. And it's mostly I've always paid attention to the head, the helmets.
That's a cool one.
Well, all of them are. Like the Sanctioned Custom is the one that I like a lot, but the Kali, I think it's all Kali is all the heads, right? Or is Instan? No, Instant.
Istanu.
And Durga. Those are helmets too, aren't they? Mm-hmm.
But
Correct.
think about it though. If you were a data collecting cooperative, you would use armor.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have them wear suits with special nodes to, like, actually the Sanctioned Custom says that nerve telemetry goes to a GNT study group working to understand the neural correlates of triumph.
Right, which points to the intellect of a hunter, whereas the Durga points to the Titan mindset. I am a Durga skull bucket. Please bucket your skull before entering combat.
Yeah.
It does not say that.
It does. The Durga GNT Type 0. It totally says that. That's one of my favorite flavor
New
things.
favorite. New
Please
favorite.
bucket your skull. Oh, man. So, yeah.
Yep. Now, one thing before we move very far. Well, let's wait till we get to the foundries because that's more
Okay, you want to swing back and talk about the ammo.
So, are there any other assault rifles other than just like for nostalgic purposes that we want to touch on?
I know we talked a little bit about the Supercell. Do we want to talk about Supercell?
We can circle back because the discussion was never about the tank. So,
okay.
Yeah, we'll just leave that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then that takes
because
us...
that's what if you didn't know, that's what it's. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we can circle back for the Supercell if we have a little bit. So that brings us to the second type of, and these are all going to be in alphabetical order, so this is not prioritized by favorites. So that brings us to the second variation of primary weapons, which is hand cannons. And who wants to grab that one?
Why doesn't Josh grab it?
Sure, why not? So, hand cannons. Sturdy and reliable, hand cannons have long been a preferred tool for self-defense. Their low rate of fire and modest accuracy is more than made up for by their ease of handling and superior stopping power. and they are personally my favorite type of gun.
Oh, nice. Were you a hand cannon user back before it became fashionable?
I was a hand cannon user back when Thorn was one of the most underrated exotics in the game.
Oh
When
wow!
was Thorn underrated?
Right when it came out.
Right when it came out,
yeah.
I got my Thorn back in October of that first year, 2014, and I don't think it was probably until December that it had that first big patch where Thorn got buffed. But it was one of those guns that I saw in concept art, and I thought it looked great, and it's been my favorite weapon since, despite the fact that I haven't used it since Taken King.
And what made it even better is, as a hunter, it was the most annoying thing to get. Because of that stupid Crucible portion of the quest.
77 Wizard was how I got it.
Yeah.
Oh, I did it with the Fusion too.
No,
Yep, me too.
mine was 2 to the morgue. I got a 2 to the morgue with full auto fire. Control. Just sit on the point and wait for people. It's like, hi.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I was actually running around in Elimination. I was wearing a Rahul mask, using Thorn, Praetit's Revenge, and not Bread of March, the one before Bread of March, Jolder's Hammer.
Jolder's Hammer, yeah.
Oh,
So I had a light level of like 180, but Thorn's not bad in normal Crucible without light levels counting right now.
And the big one that we talked about in chat was actually not Thorn. It was the first curse. So
I still don't have that.
Yeah, I don't have that one either.
Yeah, I've got it though.
Okay, perfect.
Or did you mean you don't have it in game?
No, I don't have it in game. Continue. Stop pointing out my lackings in game.
I don't have it either, Blue. Don't.
Okay,
all right.
We outnumber
first
the people
curse
who do.
Is when death becomes an afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
People always forget about the other one, the first one. They remember its twin, the last word, because that's an easier story to tell. But it's not the whole story. Truth is, there were 2 of them. Back then in the lawless days before the city was anything more than a rumor. There are thousands of tales of the fate of the first curse. Which one can you tell? And the card for it makes it look exactly like the last word.
Yeah,
Just
and
with
I
a
mean,
few less hash marks.
I was so mad when I read the Grimoire for that gun because I could have sworn it was going to be like a corrupted version of the first word, and because I expected like a total Anakin storyline for Shin as we went down the road. And when I read that, I was like, well, that's not what I wanted at all. I was completely wrong. So, there. I shared how wrong I was about the first curse.
Well, you never really know. I mean, as the Grimoire card says, there's hundreds and thousands of tales.
It was when it was data mined out. I was like, first curse, there it is. There's the Anakin storyline. And it's like, oh no, it's just the one that was made that they're pretty much the last word's ugly stepsister, I guess. You know?
I think it's a beautiful gun, even though the Grimoire does not really give it justice.
Mm-hmm.
From what I understand, with the recent hand cannon buff, it's pretty good right now, too.
Yeah, I haven't tried mine since I got it up to 320, and I put it down because I think one day I ended up in Crucible and I got this IS Luna roll with reactive reload and feeding frenzy or something like that, or reactive reload and outlaw, and so I was like, this is just amazing. But yeah, first curse, it looks like it's gotten better. I hope to try it out soon.
The thing about the first curse is that it's the exact opposite of the last word. It's a very slow firing, hard hitting, long range hand cannon. As a matter of fact, Willie, whenever we were running a couple of trials cards with Redneck the other night, I was using it. And
Uni, what gun was I using?
Yeah, no land beyond. Try hard.
Damn right. I would.
But no, what I wanted to point out, and this was the thing that really got us in chat. Me and Rhino both, and Taylor B we were like, oh my god, this is so cool. The hand cannons, if you really look at the model of the hand cannons in game, they look really weird, because if you look at the hammer design and you look at where the bullet actually comes out, it comes out at the bottom. It doesn't come out at the top like a normal pistol per se. This is an actual design. There are real revolvers that are designed like this. Mm-hmm. And their design came up in, I think it was around 1970. And Rhino's probably going to kill me because I've lost the link. But I had this whole article on the guy that designed it and all this kind of stuff. But in chat, I posted a link to what I refer to as a real world last word that you can buy for $1,000. But yeah, we thought it was really cool that, we were looking at the design of the hand cannons, and it just come up that, man, there's just a lot about these things that don't look right. The way they reload, the whole reload animation, there's not a gun in the world that does that. Come to find out, there really is. And they're very popular. Very popular.
I'm still trying to figure out if that's tied into anything.
What?
The first curse.
I'm sure it is.
I mean, like, everyone that I've kind of chatted about with it obviously makes the connection to Cain and Abel because they talk about twins and, the siblings. But it's interesting because, like, if you're going to tie it into the biblical sense, that's actually not the first curse. The first curse in the Bible is to Satan as the serpent in the Garden of Eden. And so it's odd because if it's going to be an allusion to the Cain and Abel story because of the siblings and all that, which it actually seems to be an allusion to because they always forget about the other one, the first one. It's odd that they would call it the first curse because that's not actually accurate. But it also seems like that another nod to it is when death becomes an afterthought, because the curse of Cain was that he should wander the earth and no one should do him harm, and anyone who would do him harm his curse would pass on to them, which is where you have the mythos of the Mark of Cain and stuff like that. But I don't know, that's what always comes to mind. But then I always go back and I'm like, but it's not the actual first curse. So it's always been one of those things. Whenever people talk about the first curse, I don't talk a lot because that's what I'm trying to process in my head. So I'm like, it doesn't make sense. So, yes.
Well, I mean, that the card kind of it tells you, of course, that it's the last word's twin. So obviously they were born together, and it doesn't tell you a lot more about it other than that. Other than there have been plenty of different kinds of stories told about it, and then it asks which kind you're going to tell. So, it seems like people have either had really good luck with this weapon, really bad luck with this weapon, and you're going to find out what kind of story you're going to tell when you use it. It's kind of what I get from the card.
Yeah. No, and I mean, yeah. I would agree with that, yes.
Once again, there's not a lot of information there, so we'll find out, I'm sure, as the game progresses, but yeah.
Well, and we know that the last word was the majestic weapon, and so, it was Ward's weapon, and it's referred to as the sword, but we don't know if that was just, your talking. But
they referred to it as a prize.
What's that?
He referred to it as a prize.
Well, no, he said give the boy his master's sword after he had. Yeah, and so like I know, and like there's a lot of connections you can make there too, but you also could just be like, oh, he was just talking about the weapon, and so yeah, it's an interesting. Its tie-in with the last word. I'm going to be very interested in seeing develop, because this connects it to that story, which is, one of the most hotly debated topics in Destiny lore, as we all know. So before we slide down that dark slope, let's move on. Did you guys have anything else about First Curse that you wanted to?
Well, I did want to say that I think one of the most interesting things about the First Curse is that, and I guess this is just a part of Destiny, we don't really know when it came to play. We can gauge where the last word was active during what time period because of one of the Dark Age cards where Jaren is taking care of, I forget who he is, Magistrate something. He was
Magistrate Loken?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, he was something. But I kind of, when I think about the First Curse, I kind of think of the Crimson Days card, where at the end of the Crimson Days card, you have, the two people listening to the story and recalling similar events being told in a different way.
Right, yeah.
And so it was when I'd commit, this is one of the few flavor texts that I commit to memory. And so when I read the second Rezo Azir card, he has one line where he's looking at I think he's looking at the Kel or one of the captains, and he just says the captain was already an afterthought, and then he continues.
Yeah.
And it's one of those little lines that could mean nothing at all, or it could, because a lot of people like to say Rezo Azir wielded all these different weapons. So if we don't know at what point the First Curse came into being, who's to say that it was not one of his weapons?
Well, and we know that in War Without End, he uses a hand cannon deliberately to kill the Kel.
Yeah. And sure, again, he's using a whole bunch of different weapons.
Yeah.
He
somehow switches weapons, primary weapons, which he's using Destiny Item Manager. But,
well, that's what the Ghost is for. The Ghost seems to be really quick on those, revives. It's not locating a respawn point.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing that always bugs me is how does he get respawned right there?
Because he's a named NPC, thank you very much.
Whatever.
So that wraps up hand cannons, right? You guys good to move to the next type of primary?
Yes.
Which is pulse rifles. Now, pulse rifles the card is pretty basic on this one. It says the pulse rifle is designed for precision fire and tight shot grouping. 3-round bursts provide an added punch with reduced recoil compared to fully automatic weapons. Skilled shooters often walk the burst from the target's center of mass into the head. And I don't think we really... we hit a little bit on pulse rifles in chat, but nothing really stood out significantly that I remember. Do you guys?
No.
Other than being my favorite weapon.
Well, other than that.
Well, somebody has something down here of the evolution of the Red Death.
Right. And I know we're gonna.
Red Spectre.
Oh yeah. We're definitely gonna get into that. But real quick, you want to run through because it looks like we can run through the rest of the weapon archetypes just real fast, and then dive into the meat of it. That being said, the remaining primary is the scout rifle, which is actually my favorite. Justin, you want to grab that one?
Yeah. Scout rifle is the preferred weapon of a seasoned marksman. The scout rifle is a single-shot precision firearm favoring accuracy above all else. The scout rifle packs increased stopping power to counter its low rate of fire. Yeah, it pretty much says it all right there. Other than touch and mouse, that fires like a really slow-firing auto rifle.
And Mida, which just is...
It's a stapler. Just move on.
It's amazing. So, So that brings the primary weapons, which are obviously our top in the category of our weapons here. That's the multi-purpose weapons. So then we come to our special weapons, or what as we call secondary weapons, and we're going to again go through these alphabetically real quick. The first one is the fusion rifles, and I think Josh, you want to grab that real fast for us?
Yep, I got it. All right. Advancements in directed energy disbursement, excuse me, gained through the discovery of Golden Age research led to the creation of stabled, field-ready, energy-based weaponry. The first implementations of this technology come in the form of the fusion rifle. Users must hold the trigger down for a few moments to charge the weapon before firing. And these are some of the coolest weapons in Destiny, I would say.
Yeah, they're definitely the most unique.
Yeah,
I would think.
they have a wide range of uses, from the Queenbreaker's bow to the Vex Mythoclast, and the kamikaze weapon, the Telesto.
So that's basically fusion rifles. Again, we didn't really have anything that stood out super just by itself. We'll get into a little bit, I think, of them down below, or as we get through later in the notes. But that brings us to the next special weapon, or secondary weapon, which are the shotguns. And I think I'm going to let Uni. You want to take the shotguns?
Sure. There are a few weapons that offer the comfort of a shotgun. Built for close quarters combat, they provide immediate violent conflict resolution.
It just reminds me of the Ikora quote. They made a reach for my ghost. I reach for my shotgun. or
it was
whatever.
A short conversation.
It was a short conversation. Yeah.
I was like, that is exactly what that reminds me of. And so again, we'll probably get into a few of them later. We've talked about shotguns quite a bit in other episodes. But that brings us to an actual newer introduction to the secondary weapons, which is the sidearms. And there is actually one sidearm that probably many people recognize, because it's kind of an oddly universally hated one. But the sidearms general card says the sidearms class is made up of lightweight pistols designed for ease of handling and quick firing. Its antiquated triggering system and engineering make it rare within city limits. As it's long been a staple of the Awoken Royal Guard, perhaps this newly forged alliance between the Reef and the city will see the sidearm become commonplace within Guardian arsenals. And now the one that kind of stood out in chat was the one that I was just mentioning, is the Dreg's Promise. So, and I think, Uni, you want to touch on that one just a bit? Because this is an exotic sidearm.
Is it?
Yes.
Spiky potato? Exotic? It seems like a ripoff.
I'm pretty sure it's an I don't actually have it.
I'm messing with you.
It's gotta. This is one of the ones that I never took the time to chase after hearing the horror stories of it.
Yeah,
just real quick though, for sidearms, there are only two weapon grimoires for sidearms, and the Vestian Dynasty is, if I recall, the only weapon that has a grimoire card that is not an exotic. That was the weapon that was given to us.
Oh, that's right.
In House of Wolves, it was the first sidearm, and it was the only sidearm aside from Dreg's Promise up until Taken King, and it wasn't that bad as opposed to Dreg's Promise back in the day.
Yeah. Now, another interesting thing about sidearms too is that Vestian Dynasty and Iron Wreath D are the only two not made by Hake. Well, and Dreg's Promise, because I really don't think Hake would have rummaged that together.
Wait, you said that they were the only ones that are not crafted by Hake?
Correct. And
I think there's one more, the Crow's Eye, which is the Challenge of Elders one,
Oh, okay.
which actually just dropped for me today.
Oh, sweet. Well, hey, that's what we're here for. Learn. All right. Dreg's Promise. You want me to read the card?
Yeah, let's read it
Okay.
real quick.
Okay. Flavor text says, I am a marvel with 10,000 arms. Right now, I feel like I have 10,000 tongues. But anyway, there's a story, old as time, of he who could catch the stars. Unnamed and ethereal, the star catcher would lead the fallen, rising from the lowest station to the highest exalted peaks. It is a fairy tale allowed to persist by the four-armed to keep the docked hopeful, placid. Even the low may one day ascend. Myth, fairy tale, or prophecy of what will be. It's best not to take chances. After all, one can't reach across the black to claim domain over 10,000 stars with 10,000 arms if they die here and now with only 2. I'm sorry, I completely screwed that up.
You're good.
I actually had to read that one a couple times before I got the 10,000 arms thing. I was like, oh, it pretty much saying, you can't have 10,000 arms and get all the stars if you die while you only have 2 arms.
Yeah.
It's kind of the rags to riches dreg dream, if you will. It's what every dreg wants to aspire to.
Well, this is also like what Varys talks about, and Skolas too, when they say the power, the strength of a dreg. And I think the line is repeated in one of Fallen 2.
Yep.
Where we
Ghost
have
Fragment
the
Fallen
inventory.
2. The random Justin
drag inventory.
Yeah, the one Justin that you created the Snicker bar meme for.
Yeah, it's a here always. I want to know what it is, but
so yeah, that's actually that's what Hurt Chain was just saying in the chat. It's at the very end. He says, "I know what no one else knows, and now I am a marvel with 10,000 arms." Fun fact: if you search 10,000, like the 2 words in Ishtar, there's actually a couple Grimoire cards that actually have 10,000 within it. It's kind of interesting, just as a side note. So, yes, after the dreg potato.
Yes, now we have the special weapon I'll actually use, the sniper rifle. Not that I'm any good with it. The dangers present beyond the city's walls cannot always be met head-on. The accuracy and power of the sniper rifle offers the best option for precise ranged attacks. Caliber and make differ, but a good sniper can always remove key threats. And I am not a big fan of the sniper rifle style that happened right when House of Wolves dropped, where they all stopped looking like rifles and started looking like I don't know what. I'm much more. I like the aesthetics of the ones that look like the vanilla sniper rifles,
like the Trials weapon back then. I forget what it's called. It was really good too. It was really good.
The Eye of Soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
The extra solar was the Dead Orbit one, if I recall.
Yeah. Just they all looked the same, and
they did look weird. They looked like popsicle sticks.
Yeah, like the Tao Ho Yun or whatever you call it.
Yeah,
which I just call a number 3 with noodles.
So you like the design more of, would you say, Aphrodite's Spear or
yes.
Praetor's Revenge?
Yes, Praetor's Revenge is my favorite.
Probably Supremacy.
Design. Patience and Time.
Her Supremacy. Look at that. That's an oldie.
Oh my god, I love that. I still have that sniper rifle.
I still have I still have my Aphrodite spear that people raged over.
Nice. But
Yeah.
there was one in particular that we talked about in chat, I believe, and that is what I call the jazz hand rifle. The hereafter, the dazzle. It's got the dazzle effect.
It's got the
You do a
headshot dazzle.
It's like boom, and I just like every time I kill someone with it, it's like jazz hands. So, actually, I also call it the bedazzle. So, you know,
Or the-
whatever.
The Luke Skywalker.
The Luke.
I call it the don't let me crouch or I can't see.
So
There's
Actually, you know what? You wanna see what the Monte Carlo design is? Just crouch while you're using the hereafter.
yeah, with the Hawkeye.
Oh man. So the hereafter, I'll grab that one real quick. And the flavor text is actually, it's a fun one. It says, huddled at the mountain's base, we had no choice but to beat our plowshares into swords once more. Once we had peace. This isn't a story about peace. Then there was darkness, destruction, despair. This isn't a story about those things either. This story comes much later. It's a story about what was here, after, and what came next. I love the card because it's such a blatant nod to the whole concept of swords to plowshares and plowshares to swords, which is a very symbolic thing. That's, you know, it's a lot of people attribute that to the biblical sense, which it was the book of Isaiah, and then later I think it was actually reversed in the book of Joel, where they said beat your plowshares into swords. And so there's that, but plowshare is often, like the plowshare itself is often used to symbolize the creative tools that benefit humankind, whereas the sword is the destructive tool of war. And so when you have a symbolic crafting of a sword into a plowshare or a plowshare into a sword, that also marks the conversion of a civilization from peaceful civilian applications of things to a military or vice versa. And so that's the, when they say that they beat the plowshares into swords again, that's them basically saying, well, we used to be a peaceful culture and now we don't have the luxury of that anymore. So that's why I love the flavor text of the hereafter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I've always, if Destiny was to ever become a movie or series or anything like that, that is one story that I want to be told.
Yeah. What happened next?
I want to know about these people that were huddled up in the mountain that literally had nothing. And all they had was what they had. They didn't have any armaments or that's what I picture when I read this flavor text, is a group of people that, didn't have weapons. They didn't have ways to protect themselves. Mm-hmm. They didn't need them. And all of a sudden, crap hit the fan, and they were forced to use what was in front of them, and this is what came from that. This weapon, and that could be completely wrong, but that's what I always picture. That's what I envision is these people coming together, and they make their own armaments and they make their own weapons and things like that. And I just think it's a cool story either way. So
it sounds like a group of hunters were out there gathering refugees, or it sounds like the proto Iron Lords up there on a Felwitzer
mountain, or the people who are below the mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's so many different ways that this particular flavor text could branch into the fragments of stories that we already have, or it could just go off on a completely different tangent. There's just so much. It's such a rich symbolic concept, that entire thing. So as soon as I got the Hereafter and I read that, I was like, oh, this is like, even if this gun is terrible, I love it.
Yeah.
Which is not terrible. It's really fun.
Yeah.
But
No Land Beyond is fun.
No Land Beyond is also fun. What's really fun is No Land Beyond with a loot and shoot scout rifle. You can just perch up on a mountain and go on a safari. You don't have to ever leave. That's what I do all the time. So anyways, we're going to move. So that's all the special weapons. So we have fusion rifles, shotguns, sidearms, and sniper rifles. Next comes the heavy weapons. And we're going to start off with the machine guns.
The machine gun is an unapologetic weapon of war. Its ability to carry and process large quantities of high-caliber ammunition allows for sustained, focused attacks, making them ideal for the suppression and or annihilation of hostile forces. So pretty much it shoots big bullets and tears holes and things. Is overall pretty fun to use. Or at least it was fun to use when Jolder's hammer was out.
Yeah, I do believe it's pronounced yodelers.
I believe it's Jolder's.
I think it's
Yodelers.
the yodeler's hammer. And you must yodel while you use it.
I know you use it now. I think the highest you can get it to is like a 170. I mean, I used it, but that was just me trolling through elimination matches.
I still got my Deviant Gravity A. I'll run it any day of the week.
I still have my year 1 Shadow Price because I haven't gotten the year 2 Shadow Price yet. I also have
a good one.
I can't get one either.
I was waiting. I want one to drop so bad. I missed my Shadow Price. Like that was one of the first weapons that drug me into the lore because it was left behind by Tolan. So that made me wonder, who is this Tolan the Shattered?
Fun fact of the machine guns, there's one that's called Against All Odds, and the flavor text is in homage to Star Wars. The flavor text is 3,721 to 1.
Never
Nice.
tell me the odds.
So moving on from machine guns, we have our other type of heavy weapon, probably the one everyone used in year 1, rocket launchers.
There was another heavy weapon.
Yeah, that was it, right? That was it. You wanted to use Thunderlord. You wanted to, but you
Actually,
had to use a rocket launcher.
I used Dragon's Breath a lot in Crota, and it got me kicked off of teams a lot of the time.
Yeah, you're going to run sword. I can't. Okay, bye.
A lot of people didn't understand that it didn't matter if my solar grenade stayed there. Everybody else was going to knock his shield down. But they all seemed to have a problem with the fact that Crota would just move 2 inches and everybody else's Galahorn would still hit. I can't.
There's some real Galahorn, some Galahorn bigotry going on. So the rocket launchers have a limited, devastating payload that provides an excellent countermeasure to the heavily armored ground forces and combat vehicles. There's no better battlefield equalizer. Skilled users often aim for the ground beneath nimble targets. And I have never been so happy about something when they shifted the PvE meta from the rocket-driven, rockets are the end-all to take a boss down, to the kind of sniper meta that we're in now with our raid bosses, because there was nothing more boring for me than sitting in the crystal room while everyone fired their guns idiotically into the walls and ceiling, trying to heavy ammo glitch, or waiting for sense to cool down. It's just so much more better now. But I do like rocket launchers. That's what I run in the Crucible.
Well, Galahorn is coming back, so I mean,
Galahorn and the puppy pack rounds.
Yeah.
I can't wait, man. I mean, I know it's going to be a weapon available for everybody, so it's not going to be what it once was, I'm probably still going to use it all the time just because it's Gallarhorn. Or as some people will say, Yallarhorn. Tomato, tomato.
And we did get a new type of heavy weapon with the drop of TTK, which was the sword.
Which are awesome.
And I do believe Josh was going to grab the sword grimoire.
Yep, and the flavor text for the sword grimoire is, "There is no grace in their making, but we can change that. Lord Shax." History might come to call it the Great Hive War, but others will remember it as the day the swords came to the city. Luckily, Lord Shax's skills and research in all matters of swordplay will help ease this new age of weaponry into the Guardian fold. And it is also the only heavy weapon I don't have an exotic for, so I have to do that for Moments of Triumph.
Oh yeah, you got to get on that.
It's just it's too much to farm. I can't. I don't want to farm spin metal.
Spin metal.
It's not that bad.
That's not bad. Get a hunter with key.
I mean,
It is kind of a beating that it's not 1-to-1 though. You get like 1 out of every 5 or
yeah.
No, it's 1 out of every 10.
oh, is it?
10, I think.
Oh.
1 out of every 10, yeah.
Forget that noise. I'm glad I already got mine.
But I'm a completionist. I need to finish my Grimwalker. There's only one RNG exotic that I don't have, and that's Zen Meteor. All the other ones are quest-based.
oh, man.
Wow. So yeah, do we want to do any of the sword grimoires, the specific ones?
We've read Razelighter like 15 times, it feels like.
Dark Drinker is kind of cool.
You want to grab Dark Drinker?
Yeah, I'll grab it. It's Oryx specific. Draw close now. Closer. Yes, let me tell you why you should not fear Willbreaker, the Sword of Oryx. Firstly, its blade is not dulled by age. Each death it trades for life hones its edge, gives it weight and gravitas, and insistence within the vortex of its own totality. Best word ever. Nextly, Willbreaker transcends liminality.
So now we know
Willbreaker-
why he wanted to read this.
Willbreaker demands a subjugation more diffuse than the simple nick and smash of the physical brink. It does not have to touch you to wound you. And lastly, and this is critical, to be taken in Willbreaker's grasp is to know true bliss. That is, to be simplified. That is, to be reduced to one's most basic level, shedding all higher order thoughts of fear or duty or selfishness. That is, to feel only pain. Now do you see? Now do you understand what you've done? And that's Tolan speaking, and he's always real chipper.
Nextly,
that's awesome.
totally using that for a segue into the next section. Nextly, we're going to talk about the foundries. No, yeah, I think the swords are a really cool addition, and I think that the community displayed that when we all saw them.
Oh,
You know
and
what's going to be a good addition? That flipping battle axe.
Yeah, that will be well, and that's like the Scorch Cannon. It's gonna
It'll
be a fun one.
Flaming battle axe instead
Right.
of scorch cannon stuff.
I know we can serve pizza with it.
the spatula, but
It's pretty much its own wood-burning brick oven. You know?
I did actually like how they did swords when they brought them into the lore, because they weren't just like, hey, we need to add this because we needed a new toy for everyone to play with, and just kind of put a very limited thing. They actually did weave them in pretty well to the actual grimoire in the story.
I think
and
that, yeah, I would agree.
the mechanics of the raid.
Get the crystal from Willbreaker or
Right.
sword, and you forge your own sword. It's pretty cool. And
But
they're
we
gonna do
also
some-
go for it. Go for it.
I was just pointing out that with the new expansion, you have 2 different Galahorns. You have
Right.
the standard Galahorn, and then you have the one that's back in black, which you get with the pre-order, the Iron Galahorn. And I wouldn't be surprised if that quest line is different and you actually gather the armor of the actual Iron Lords and forge that one.
That would be amazing. Yeah, that would be amazing.
I'm throwing that out there as a prediction.
Just to drop a theory over here with swords. Anybody else want a rapier from the Fallen?
I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
As it is, we have the legendary versions and the exotics, and there are those unique swords for the Refer a Friend quest.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would be pretty awesome if we start getting, not that every race has weapons or have swords rather, but if we start getting these fallen items, I think that'd be just fantastic.
Yeah, well, the Fallen have their shock blades, I believe they're called.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great. I mean, if we can get a Dreadfang, which just seemed completely out of left field, and it was awesome, I see no reason why we can't get a Shockblade, especially since we already have all the other fallen weapons.
Right, yeah. I mean, we have the Queenbreaker's bow, we have the Dreg's Prime. Yeah, no, that would be...
I will never go into PvP again. Can you imagine? Okay. Let me set the stage. You're on Memento, which is already weird, and you turn the corner. You're fixing to run up the stairs to B. You hear a weird sound, and the first thing that comes to mind is, "Wait a minute, is that a Stormcaller?" Nah. And then you come up top, and you're like, "Wait a minute, why does this dude have a holy shit?"
No, but see, you have to really bring it into the fold. You have to be you need to be wearing that Skulless mask from from the Halloween event, or if they make a new Captain mask, and then you're just running around as an invisible
murder
blade
captains.
dancer.
Captains.
An invisible blade dancer with blink, and you just run up to someone, blink into their face with Shockblade. And then just have them wondering if there was a captain in this.
This is why
PvP.
we don't. This is why we don't let Demigod design games.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
But you guys bought me.
Yeah, it's like one time I kept running into a guy in a Crucible match, and he was wearing the Atheon mask, and the Atheon mask had the big spikes that stuck up, and then you couldn't tell the difference between his mask and a sword in front of his face, and you'd run up and you'd be like, "Oh, it's just an idiot in an Atheon mask." I'm just nope, that's a sword. So yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. Were we gonna move on to Foundries?
Yeah, let's move on to Foundries real quick.
So the Foundries have always been in the lore of the game, all the way back to vanilla. There's mentions of them, but they really kind of upped a few of the Foundry's significance when we started to get things like Arms Day, and when they really started to up the style differences in the different types of weapons that were created by the different types of Foundries. The difference between an Amalon, you can immediately tell an Amalon weapon from a Hake. And I'm just going to go ahead and read just kind of the broad overview of
Their
Foundries
purpose.
in general.
Yeah, the Foundry purpose, real quick, from Zavala. The weapons used by our Guardians come from the salvaged remains of our Golden Age, and the new discoveries in advanced energy systems. After the collapse, gunsmiths who were the best at repurposing and repairing these artifacts quickly became crucial to any group's survival. But with large arsenals comes power, and threats to our common goals force the city to monitor the size of its weapon foundries. The foundries that survive today are the best of the best. Some are built on centuries-old traditions and tribal knowledge. Others grew with new discoveries and rediscoveries, and each one has proven vital to our survival. I think if I read that right, that actually came in a weekly update.
Yep.
And I think that was the weekly update that preceded the changes I was talking about in the Foundry's renewed importance.
Yeah, and again, going back to Supercell and Hereafter, and Hereafter may or may not fit this, but in my mind it does, so it's there. Two prime examples of this repurposing of salvaged remains are those two weapons. Zalo was a Guardian literally finds this AK-47 style old auto rifle, uses his new abilities, and makes Zalo Supercell. And he made it from just what he had. And as I kind of pointed out earlier with Hereafter, kind of the same thing. Also, Banshee does a lot of altering himself. His, as Blue has pointed out before, he's got his little 3D printer off to the side that's running.
Yes, he does.
It makes nothing. It's not printing. I've checked every day. What?
No, I know. That's when I do the same thing. Are you printing anything? Come on, you crazy Exo, print something.
It's probably broken.
Yeah, it's probably is. He just hasn't gotten around to. He hasn't gotten around
the
to.
Head's clogged.
It's clogged up. It's forgotten.
So do we want to?
And like.
Oh, go ahead, Uni.
No, I was just going to say, and like I had already mentioned before about the GNT, how they altered, one rocket launcher and made a different rocket launcher. So,
well, and Zalo, wasn't that also the nickname for a tank?
There was actually a Russian tank.
Right.
That, yes, it was named. I got the exact designation, but it was referred to as the Zalo. And it's which is a cool tie. But
it's the BTR 70.
Yeah,
and it looks like it was an amphibious vehicle.
Yeah, this big 6-wheeled beast that was.
It's a very, very Russian looking.
Yeah, my limited understanding. They only made a few.
Okay.
And when tested, they used them, but the materials that they used to make them were not the most rigid. And by the time they actually tried to use them in battle per se, a simple sniper rifle could pierce their armor. So
because it says. It says the Zalo S was a tank hunter that was a prototype only. It was armed with a 2A62 85mm gun. So,
and it's actually really, the word Zalo is really similar to a Russian word that means stinger.
Correct.
Yeah,
but it's kind of hard because they have some letters in there we don't.
So, I just didn't know if we had made the connection already or. So, you want to talk about the known foundries real quick? Because I think do you want to dive into them? I know we kind of mentioned them a little bit, but.
Yeah. So I can take Hake.
Yep, go for it. I'll take Amalon. I like Amalon.
Okay. There's some cool theories on Amalon. Mm-hmm. The perk selection is focused on offensive actions and combat tactics. So perks like Partial Refund is a good example of this. Things that might not help you kill something fast, but will keep you in the fight. And the perk set around Hake weapons, that's what they're all about, is keeping you in the fight. The guns per se, when you look at them for some reason, a lot of people like to look at weapons and people with relationships. A lot of people refer to the Hake weapons as being able to be separate from the Guardian, which is kind of what we mean by what I just described. it's more of a ally in combat, almost as if it's a tool and not really anything else. And a lot of people refer to it as a very Western view of weapons in general.
Amalon. Amalon is a foundry whose talent grid focuses on behavioral perks over stat customization. A big example of that is the Replenish perk, as well as Life Support and Exhumed. Basically, instead of greatly increasing stats of the weapon works with the Guardian's abilities. The other kind of cool thing about Amalon is their weapons actually follow a naming scheme, where abysmal or chthonic art entity is followed by the initials of the weapon's class and a number. So you have like Archeron SR5. Amalon is also a pioneer of energy weapons. They emphasize good handling and then, like we already said, the behavioral perks over stat. So I think they are known for their scout rifles, hand cannons, fusion rifles, and then the snipers, I think, are the only ones that we have so far. The other kind of cool thing about Amalon is they actually have liquid ammo displays and then power cells. So I want to say they're actually the only one that has that. I don't think any of the other ones have it. That's what I know. I know the hung jury. Because the hung jury has the bubble. That's one of my favorite pieces about the hung jury. But yeah, there's a couple comments about how they're experimental weapons bordering on irresponsible because they're powered by barely understood technology. But yeah.
Yeah, and then after that, actually, we have Cassoid listed. Mm-hmm. Which, have we seen any weapons from these guys yet? I don't think we have. Oh wait, they did
a couple.
Invective Telesto. Alright, I'll just read it. They deal with special alloys. They primarily use it to forge the swords that we use in games, so they're the sword guys. They manufacture the firearms. The exotic examples, like I said earlier, are Invective and Telesto, which we all know Telesto uses Harbinger for fuel. And it has possible connections to the Praxic Warlocks due to the logos, actually. And now that I've read that, that does kind of look like a Praxic Warlock logo. That's interesting.
Yeah, so this actually came up on Reddit just the other day, and I never put those two together. And but yeah, this come up on Reddit the other day, and I was like, holy crap, yeah, that's pretty neat. And the logos aren't the same, but you can clearly tell the design is the influence is there. You know, and it was pretty neat. It was a really neat connection.
The other, just a really fun point about Cassoid is that the naming scheme is typically 2 Latin words followed by a Roman numeral. The example is the Nox Cantor 5.
Nice. So
for me, it reminds me of the Beaver and Ark Survival Evolved, because those are called like Casteroids.
So now that y'all, could you please quit talking about all these scrub foundries and let me talk about my OP foundry, okay? So I want to talk about something's really near and dear to my heart. The good folks at Nadir.
I'm sorry. All I can hear is Justin's thinking about making advertisements for every single one of these. That's all I'm hearing. We're gonna get these.
Seems to be as much a supplier as it is a foundry. Their sights and frames can be found throughout Destiny in many different combinations. But they did manufacture several weapons we are familiar with, examples being 3 Little Words, Scory's Revenge, 123 Syzygy, the Stranger's Rifle, supposedly uses a Nadir frame, not to mention Bad Juju, uses a Nadir Scout Rifle frame, which is very interesting. Nadir weapons follow a naming scheme of a scientific term followed by a 3-letter alpha code like Impulse ESC. And just to give you some background on Nadir, I actually have the definition of the word Nadir. And this kind of shows you where they are in the pecking order of foundries. A nadir is the lowest point in the fortunes of a person or organization. Synonyms: bottom, rock bottom.
I can see why this is your favorite foundry.
Yeah. So
I was wondering if someone's going to take that. That was like, Justin, you're setting yourself up for this one.
I was saying I had Cassoid in the chamber, and Willie said, "No, you're doing Nadir." No, but actually, you don't realize how many weapons these lower level foundries actually have spit out, and we just get them, we shard them, and we move on.
No, hold on now. I don't go just sharding everything.
Well, I'm talking about like the rares and stuff.
Well, I mean, some rares are fun to use in Crucible, actually. If I'm being honest here. And I mean, Nadir, they came out with, 3 little words if you had a good roll on it. I mean, everybody loves the 1-2-3 zigzaggy just because of the name. And not necessarily a stranger's rifle, but the exotic version. No Time to Explain, which we all...
Amazing.
Yeah, the wording on it's just so perfect. But, so... Nadir's, they make some pretty good stuff. I think Suros makes better stuff, though. Blue?
You going to take Suros? All right. So Suros believes in options, weapons that can be repurposed for a variety of combat situations. They focus on a single behavior perk, and it's basically grounded in the middle of the talent grid as a focus point for the weapon's core potential. The other interesting point about Suros is that all Suros weapons have Suros in the name, followed by usually 3 letters and 2 numbers. And I don't have an example off the top. The most
Suros DIS
45.
Yeah.
The P 45, the DIS 43,
BNS 13. Yeah.
There's plenty of options there. Like those are the ones, and we have a guy, Man Tuggernut. Yes, that's his actual gamer tag. He is my roll master. I will ask him when these weapons come through on the Foundry Day. And I will say, hey, this is the rolls I have. Do I get it or not? And he'll tell me either grab it or hold on to the package for next week.
Now, Suros has a really cool thing. We actually know their design philosophy. And this is, I'm going to pull this from Destinypedia, so I'm pretty sure this is, I'm not seeing where they're quoting it from necessarily, but I think it might have been from the Suros Arsenal pack. Not 100% sure, but they have listed the design philosophy as, this is my sword, function is a given, it must be given form. Designed as honed precision. Every curve, every line, every chamber speaks to the Suros philosophy. Suros is elegance amidst brutality. And I think, I'm not sure where that is, but you can definitely see that with like the rocket launchers and, the auto rifles. I think it was during the art stream that they said that one of the inspirations for Suros was the cars, the racing cars. I can't remember what
Formula One cars.
Formula One cars. Yeah, thank you. The Formula One cars. It was Formula One cars and coffee makers. Okay, that's like the highlight of that entire stream. Those were the inspirations for like all the art, and so it was. But yeah, Suros are like futuristic cars. Thank you, Shizzler in chat.
Yeah, and you pretty much hear everything you need to hear about Suros in the flavor for Suros regime, which says nostalgia as a weapon of war, style as a hallmark of victory.
Yeah. Well, and they believe that, I think the elegance amidst brutality thing is their kind of
Yeah, it's not form over function, but form's pretty dang close to function.
Right.
It's like it's approaching neck and neck. They want it to look pretty. as you shoot someone in the face.
Got a pretty cool shader when was TTK we got the shader, right? The Surf shader.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the. You guys know me. I always do purple, but yeah, it's still.
Yeah, and then so after Suros, we're gonna jump over to I think it's Daito.
I'd say Dado.
Daito.
Dado, Dido, tomato, tomato.
And then let's see, Uni, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll take it. So Jade Rabbit and we really don't know a lot about this foundry. The Jade Rabbit, which is the PS4 exclusive, whatever. And there was also what?
No, just don't get us started on exclusives.
Yeah.
Well, we're supposed to get it. Won't we be getting that on Xbox
in September?
Once,
yeah,
once
September,
the new content drops.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it'll probably be blah, just like everything else. Yes.
Sweet.
So Jade Rabbit is made by Dado, and there was also a blue sniper by the name of Silver. I can't pronounce that. Caracas. Yes, LR4. Funny thing about Caracas, it's the capital of Venezuela, and also has been named as the most violent city in the world. Anyway, but yeah, they follow a naming scheme where it's the name of a city is followed by LR and then a number. And another example of that is, what the heck kind of name is that? Saigon?
Yes.
Saigon. Sorry. It's what time? I'm running out of excuses, people. Saigon LR5.
Just pull a Justin. Say you're from Texas and let that be that.
I'm just a fat boy from North Mississippi. I got nothing.
Hey,
I put the emphasis on the correct syllable every time. Every dang time.
Oh man. So, and then that brings us to the last of our known foundries, which is the Tex Mechanica.
Cool. So Tex Mechanica is possibly one of the oldest foundries. According to Banshee, they had been making guns since the walls were even built. And this goes back to the last word and the first curse, which are two of their signature weapons. They craft weapons meant to recall the lawlessness of the old Wild West. Initially, Lord Shax thought that the Tex Mechanica weapons were trash, and the Tex Mechanica representatives are known for trying to bribe people to use their guns or to have other people fail in using their weapons to make the Tex Mechanica guns look good. But regardless, these ended up being some of the most famous weapons in the city and in the Crucible, such to the point that Lord Shax, in a kind of fourth wall breaking super meta way, talks about how Skirmish ends up being just an entire battle of thorns and last words. And I mean, he got the year one meta right. Most of these weapons are accompanied by some tales or stories beyond the wall, with some roaming hunters or refugees going around. And if I recall, they are the only foundry with known representatives. These are, and I'm going to butcher one of these names, Modris Windham, Sia Drozen, and these were the two representatives that tried to bribe Shax in the Crucible. And then there is S. Barnes Davis, who
would bribe.
Yes, he orchestrated the Shotgun Extravaganza, which is a city event that leads up to the Guardians receiving the Chaperone. Their weapons are, as I said, the Chaperone, the First Curse, the Last Word, and then there are 2 rare weapons that accompany this. One is the Silver Maverick, and the other one is the Painted Big Chief. Tex Mechanica pretty much focuses on hand cannons, and they are known to work with Banshee 44. And a lot of their naming conventions have to deal with the Wild West. So,
well, and that makes me think that one of the Banshee quotes that he's talking about, like, what do you think? I don't see the tricks. He's actually talking about Tex Mechanica.
No. And actually, I think Ace of Spades is the only gun that is designed in similar fashion to a Tex Mechanica hand cannon that is not of Tex Mechanica. And if you've ever used a Tex Mechanica gun, you know that it always does that little finger twirl every time you switch into it or you reload it. It's really interesting when Chaperone does it because it's like a big contraption just to even get it out. But your Guardian just seems to like flip it like it's a butterfly knife or something.
I noticed we actually left out another big foundry as well. We never spoke about Crux Lomar.
Well, do we consider them a foundry or more like a weapon developer? It's essentially Faisal Crux and
Faisal Crux and Victor Lomar, they're the weaponsmiths, but it is a foundry. They did Galahorn, Truth, and Dragon's Breath, so they're all about the rocket launchers. But I figure they are worth mentioning because, I mean, despite what people might have felt about Dragon's Breath in the Crota days, one, it has a really cool design. You know, it has that old school, like, World War II bomber plane design.
Yeah.
And now with that new, where they give it, like, the actual, like, fire pit, it's pretty good, you know, on bosses.
Yeah, so just real quick, when he's talking about Crux Lomar, this is a foundry that would, and I think this is, Justin, what you're talking about. It was founded by the weaponsmiths Faisal Crux and Victor Lomar, but they also are the creator of Yellowhorn, Truth, and Dragon's Breath are the 3 that are predominantly known. But you know, there's not much known about them. They seem to be, especially with Yellowhorn, they seem to be the ceremonial weapon maker. They do have a naming scheme of political figures followed by a 2-letter alpha code and then a number. So the example there being the Baron SA/2. And we do actually have, you know, their logo is actually kind of one of my favorite ones. It's a little bird skull.
I wouldn't say it's a bird skull. That's I say like a.
No, yeah, I guess that's true.
Like a deer skull, but without antlers.
I don't know what that is. It always just took it to be a bird skull, but yeah, you're saying that.
It's definitely an odd skull.
It's weird.
It looks badass.
Yeah, it looks really cool. But yeah, so that, I think, actually, that was a good catch. But I think that does give us every single foundry.
Well, the ones that we actually see in games so far, anyway.
I mean, we have a couple that are unknown. You know, the unknown logos, like we were talking about with the Monte Carlo. I think Uni, you had a couple other various weapons that had kind of like a
checkered pattern.
Yeah, checkered pattern, and then Pocket Infinity.
Hurt Chain actually mentioned in chat, and I don't think anyone was able to either deny or disprove or even prove. But he mentioned that he thought that this checkered pattern was a logo of the city, or the tower. I'm sure he'll correct me on that, but I couldn't really, I can't really find anything that ties this checkered pattern to anything per se. Also on Pocket Infinity, there's only one logo or one printed anything on that entire weapon frame, and it looks like a crosshair. And
Right,
I have no idea. Now,
I thought it looked like a pizza cut into 4 slices.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And then
Now,
the other one is
the other
deer.
one, right? And this is probability. Okay, I mean this is theory. We think that this logo is the Nadir Products line. Whatever you want to call it, their accessories division. If you will find this logo, it's sort of a weird looking N that also wraps around and makes a D. It literally, you see it on a lot of scopes, on a lot of different weapons. You see it on different frames. It's everywhere. This thing is on almost every weapon ever. And it drives me mad. And I think it was me and Rhino that were, running through some of these logos, and we kind of decided that this is very possibly their products division logo, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just kind of theory, though.
It kind of looks like the N7 from the Mass Effect series. It doesn't exactly look like it to where I can, but like I was trying to figure out what that looks like to me just right offhand. And if you played Mass Effect, it does remind me a lot of the N7 logo.
Well, can we? This is probably a no. Could we add the war mines, not as a foundry, but as crafters of guns?
Crafters of guns, yeah. I mean, we definitely could, because
you have the Diluvian series, which look pretty identical to Pocket Infinity, even though we know Pocket Infinity was crafted from Vex technology or of Fireteam
Data.
Yeah, from Vex Data, essentially. But we also have the Sleeper. And all 3 of those weapons have that similar war mine design.
yeah.
Yeah, it's my. We talked about this a little bit in chat as well. In my theory on that is, okay, so Fireteam to you was on Venus, where they got the Vex data, and they were all killed. So the question comes: how does Rasputin, know about the design of the Pocket Infinity? Because we know that the a war mine was used to process the data that Fireteam to gathered, and a war mine was used to process that data that then we were able to build the weapon Pocket Infinity. So how does Rasputin have this information? And my basic theory on that is, if he took over all the war mines when he woke up, that's how he got that data. Or if he controlled before the collapse, let's say there's the theory that Rasputin was the main war mine per se. He could have also had access to that data. He would have known everything that every other war mine was doing, so he would have known about that data. So whenever, Sleeper Simulant was laid out and designed and this, that, and the other, it would have looked similar to Pocket Infinity, because that would have been the only other weapon he knew about, per se.
Assuming that there's war mine on Venus.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, do we want to move over to some of the ideas that we had in chat that we haven't touched on? Though we were going to talk a little bit about the evolution of Red Death. Do you want to still do that, or I mean, just hang on real quick. While we're on the topic of foundries and gun creators, they're the gunsmiths that we do know that don't seem to be allied with any of the foundries. For example, Gwant, the Exo gunsmith who crafted the wizards,
I thought it was Kant. I thought it was A before U.
Oh, I
Did I mistype that?
I might have. Yeah, we might have
been
mistyped that one. I know, but there do seem to be like master gunsmiths that are outside of the foundries necessarily and kind of have their own thing going, which kind of ties into that whole, well, I mean, Banshee is an example of that too. He's kind of the vanguard gunsmith, but he doesn't really, he makes fun of the foundries, but he doesn't really align with any of them.
He's just, he buys what he needs from them. Banshee's his own foundry.
Yeah.
Well, Banshee must have been around for. I mean, obviously, Banshee 44 is his designation, but he must have been around since before the walls were even built as a gunsmith. If he can remember crafting the first curse and when he had first seen the last word.
Right.
Well, we have a quote that comes from the Thanatot card. Well, I mean, he's not a warlock Thanatot. Like that was a generalization of the Thanatot. They have that Exo card where has that Banshee quote. Us Exos have been around a very long time. I want to see what's in there. So he says he's been around a while.
We know that he's been around at least since Twilight Gap because he was a soldier there.
He actually fought in Twilight Gap.
Yeah. So.
And, then he's kind of got a couple screws loose, a couple few.
But do you want to go into the evolution of Red Death?
Well, I see you have Shingen E here.
Mm-hmm.
The exemplary Shingen E is built to pop skulls. So that's a blue auto rifle. And then we have Red Spectre, which is also an auto rifle, a legendary though. So I guess I missed this part of the conversation. So I'm looking forward to this as much as anybody listening is. And
well, this is like Uni's theory.
And then it goes into Red Death, which we all know is an exotic
pulse rifle. So here's the connection. I'll fill you in, and I will take 110% of the blame. Because everyone thinks I'm freaking mad for this. But no, if you look at the frame, and if you look at the Shingen E, right, the muzzle, the frame, everything is exactly like a Red Spectre. Okay? If you look at the Red Spectre, correct.
It has the blood and the spikes and all that?
Everything. Oh, no. The Red Spectre is a modified Shingen E. Okay? Let's call it a prototype. Okay? There's no special attributes to the Red Spectre. No willy-nilly magic, voodoo, or anything like that. If you look at the Red Spectre and then set the Red Death right next to it, it is the evolved version, Red Death is, of the Red Spectre. But instead of being an auto rifle, it's a pulse rifle. And yes, my theory is that Tolan designed it.
There he goes.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it.
I'm sorry. It just there's too many, because if you look at the I guess it was the Weapons of Sorrow episode that I was on, where I kind of killed the chat there as well. I don't think Justin's recovered from that yet, but
yeah, I'm still working my way back.
But yeah, Tolan is known for doing some really crazy things to weapons that they just shouldn't be done. And it only makes sense to me how he could take a Shingen E, which by the way looks very similar to a Shadow Price, and turns it into a Red Spectre, into a Red Death. If you think about the correlation between Red Death and Bad Juju, they kind of do the same thing, just in a different way or from a different aspect. One, you get extra super energy when you kill a minion of the darkness, right? So when you kill a minion of the darkness,
No, it's a kill in general. Even if you kill another guardian, I'm pretty sure you get extra super energy.
Okay, so the you get super energy from them. Okay, you get super energy whenever you kill something anyway, but you get extra super energy when you kill something with bad juju, right? Well, with Red Death, instead of gaining extra super energy, you get extra life force. Your actual life and your shields come back. And so he was approaching the same concept, but from a different way. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down. It's up there with Pei and Ryan and Chinese Dragon.
I don't think it's that far.
Yeah, fine.
I don't think it's quite there
look,
on the scale.
But it is a concept.
I will admit it's a stretch because, of course, yes, there's nothing that says this is true. I mean, this is all theory. So I'm not gonna say that, oh yes, this is absolute fact. No, this is theory. This is me looking at these weapon frames way too much. So that's why I say I take 110% of the responsibility. So,
but yeah, even then, it's not it doesn't seem so far-fetched. I mean, when you look at it, you have the IS Luna, which looks like a miniature Hawk Moon. The hothead is an unpainted Dragon's Breath.
Correct.
And obviously the Stranger's Rifle, which has its own other set of lore behind it. So there's no reason not to look at some guns and either see them as prototypes or as replicas in some way.
Correct. And another small theory of mine is that the legendary swords that we get are Shax's versions of studying these swords and studying these materials. And until we kill Oryx and come back with the crystal, can he make an exotic weapon out of them? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that seems to reconcile with the game mechanic.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
you have to get it up to level 280.
Yes.
And that's when the actual exotic quest starts, where you can get the Hattie place and all that.
Right.
But we actually kill Oryx. Well, we don't kill him, but we end up shooing him back to his throne world, kind of like Blue shoos me out of so many chats.
That's a true statement.
It's a very true statement. I get at least one shoe a week whenever I'm in chat.
My week's not complete unless I get to use that GIF.
But the point is, we end up defeating Oryx, and that's what Eris picks up out of, we talked about it earlier, Willbreaker, is that shard that's actually in the legendary sword. And it seems like, to me, that the quest afterwards, where we have to get all the kills, we have to... I want to say that the quest line itself, I don't have it up right now, but it pretty much says that we're using sword logic like it wants us to, but we're also cleansing it, and that's what ends up making it the exotic, like the so amazing Razor Lighter. I'm sorry, that's the best exotic sword hands down, it's Razor Lighter. But, so, yeah, we do get the sword from Shax, so that's a hint that he did help design it. But I want to say that it's getting that shard of Willbreaker that really inspired the design of the swords. Creation in general.
Well, but I also get the hint from the flavor text with Razor Lighter, not to rehash that a little bit, but we had encountered, like, Shax knew about the swords well before even the Mare Imbrium incident. So, like, he knew about the swords, and he's wanted to research them forever since then. So it kind of falls in line with him being the one that's responsible for making them, too, because he actually might be the the representative in the city that has the most most experience with them from all the reports from Burning Lake.
Well, I mean, let's just put this out here, right now. Whatever Shax wants, Shax gets.
Oh, yeah.
That's all there is to it.
Except for us not invading the moon. Which was an awesome I told you so moment for him.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it was a pretty big cost, but
Oh, yeah.
he definitely hit the nail on the head with Miriam Graham.
Yeah. So, I mean, but trying to think, is there anything, Josh, I know you had a note in here about you wanted the class-specific guns.
So when Destiny was first being thought up, and when they had all the information, all the original information out, the guns were specific to certain classes. So hunters were meant to be the rogue type characters. They had hand cannons and snipers. Warlocks were the mages. They had scout rifles and fusion rifles. And then the Titans being the Vanguard.
Powerhouse's master class.
If Willie wants to think that.
Just move along.
Just keep going.
They had the pulse rifles, the auto rifles, and the shotguns. And so when we look at the class-specific items, and sorry, Willie, but your class-specific items suck, we see that...
I like this guy.
I'm just making a point.
Mobius is actually really useful to use armor of light bubble in the Crucible.
And for nothing else.
Nobody. No, it can be useful in some PvE as well.
But yeah, so when you look at the class specific items, it's very much going to that original design. The Ace of Spades and the Steel Piercer, the Tlaloc and the Susanoo, and the Fabian Strategy and the Amobius. And they work well for pretty much any subclass that you might be running, with the exception of Amobius being max. No, it maximizes when you're using Defender. In all other cases, any other shotgun is better. Obviously, Tlaloc is a monster.
Have you ever ran an Amobius with what the hell are those arms called?
I have, and I've immediately switched back to my Chaperone because it's just so much more fun to play Chaperone with no backup plans, or Chaperone with Imperium Bellicose.
You can't compare a legendary exotic. That's just not right. Not fair.
Oh, man.
Who said things were fair?
Titans still have the best super. Okay, I don't care. The hammers still by far like the greatest thing bunch ever.
Are you having fun now that you could swing them again?
Thanks to Justin, I called them Tinks. Damn it, Justin.
Tank.
But yeah, no, that's pretty much, there was an original design. I'm a little happy that you can use whatever you want, but I actually still ascribe to this. So my hunter only has hand cannons, and instead of snipers, which I do spread between every class, my hunter has sidearms. My warlock has scout rifles and fusion rifles, and my titan does use pulse rifles, auto rifles, and shotguns. And I just think it helps me maximize my playstyles for all these guys.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I think that actually kind of hits all the points that we mostly touched on in chat. So if
I wanted
you guys
to tell Josh real quick that I use No Land Beyond sniper rifle Titan all the time. So I hope you think about that when you try to sleep tonight.
I'll be thinking about how I can't do No Land Beyond Shade Step anymore, because Shade Step cancels out the reload action. So you could shoot instantly after that.
Who cares about Shade Stepping?
I love how he's like,
Oh, stupid kids in your shade stepping. Get off my lawn.
I'm sorry, what happened to Twilight Garrison? Did that get nerfed too? Oh.
It did. I never
So-
used Twilight Garrison anyway. Armentarium, baby.
No, I don't
Double
wear Twilight Garrison. I can swim. I don't need that noise.
It's not a float, Jack. You stop it.
Like I said, I'm perfectly fine with the Imperium Bellicose. I'll float over doorways and shotgun them as they come by.
I am not a fan of that. You're one of those people that actually likes the Icarus perk, aren't you?
No. I don't use Icarus. I just use Imperium Bellicose.
If you do, why not use Icarus if you're using Imperium Bellicose?
No,
He has a chaperone. He doesn't need
He would-
Icarus.
it's one shot, one kill.
oh, okay. Shout outs.
Chaperone sucks.
I don't think that's the kind of shout out we're looking for. Uni, why don't you kick us off?
All right, so I want to give a big shout out. First of all, Hurt Chain, be careful out there in the real world. It's dangerous. There's real people out there. So be careful. Make your way back home, wherever the heck that is. Have fun. Be good. Keep posting pictures. We love you. And Taylor B, Rhino 666, and Drimbus 1, you guys were, you was there in chat every day, and we had a really good time. There was a bunch of other people in there too. But yeah, chat was good this week. Chat's really going to be good this week because of, I think we're talking about Crota Zen. And so, yeah, that's my shout outs.
Okay, well, my shout outs are actually to a network that actually is now going to be hosting us on their site as well as a couple other places, but they are known as Alpha Geek Media, and their website, I'm going to pull it up to make sure that I get this correct, is www.alphageekradio.com. And we are actually being hosted live on there. They do a collection of radio and live stream podcasts like what we do on Twitch. They host us on their website. So if you guys haven't seen them, they have a pretty cool selection of shows over there. Give them a check out. And I just wanted to say thank you for picking us up and giving us some more hosting. On top of that, I also wanted to thank everybody who came out to help with the Breathe Easy 2016 event last weekend. I believe the total amount raised that we are going to be contributing or donating over to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation is just a little smidge under $4,100. So you guys who were participating, you guys who participated in that, thank you again so much for taking the time out of your holiday weekend. That was a huge thing, and we really appreciate that. And I'm going to hand it off to Justin.
Yeah. Great show. Big shout out to Uni and Josh for being great hosts, not Hests.
Hests. I was fixing to say love you, bro, but
I get Hest. You get Hest. Okay, Uni, you may with this show, you might have become our highest recurring guest. Is that correct, Blue?
No.
Is that 3?
No, Bife was 3.
Yeah,
Does Bife had?
Well,
Okay.
you're tied with Fife, so how?
Bife beat me.
You're in
Y'all
good company.
asked Bife to come on before me, so I mean, all right, whatever.
Well, we're working up the guns.
We couldn't work up the courage to ask
Yeah.
you, Uni.
So also, hope everyone had a really safe and happy 4th of July and came away with all your fingers and all your toes. Big shout out to DoD Chatterwhite crew, the crew that I roll with. And also, last but not least, big shout out to the safest place in any Titan's house, the Top Shelf. You're the MVP, Top Shelf.
Really?
Way to go.
Really? They're not really T-Rex arms. Like, they're normal-sized arms. It's just they're not like Warlocks. They don't get that OP range. Even
I
though
love
they
that. I
should.
love how everyone just winds him up. It just lets him go.
People are trying to kill me. Jesus.
He's got Hamburger Helper up there from like 1994. He's just like, if I could get up there, I'd so eat that. Go on, Willie.
Imperium Bellicose doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I made it a couple days ago with no problem. I didn't have to even jump. I just reached up there.
Willie, too
Shut
bad not on PS4. I'd help train you in the ways of Imperium Bellicose.
I will never use that exotic.
And I'm thinking now, just
now
out of
you
spite.
have him. Now you have him like morally opposed to using that
Yeah,
exotic.
I'm going to delete mine when we get done with this, actually. So anyway, to my shout-outs. Of course, as always, big shout-out to DODX1 Foxtrot. That's my cool crew that just demolishes everything. Big shout-out to Tomosaurus Rex on Xbox. I had fun shooting you in your friend's face with Amphion on Iron Banner. And I could tell that you were having fun shooting me in the face back, so thanks for the recognition in the chat. You kind of threw me off guard there. Like in the middle of a match, I get a message, so just want to give him some recognition. I think that's pretty much all I have. Screw Josh. That's about it.
I love how Josh got all that salt.
Oh man!
I also want to point out that the only reason I'm even aware of you guys is because Willie was the one who dragged me into this. Because
I remember that.
I made a single pay-in post and Willie thought that I was God.
Well, you gave him validation at a time when he really needed it.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen!
Yeah. Now as far as screw you guys.
That any way to talk to your
Mr.
combatants.
Brilliant, Bill Gross, along with your chaperone, because you're just going to shoot people in the face in the air with your really gross chaperone.
Yeah, her chain.
Rank 65 adjustments years.
Oh my god. So, Blue, you want to wrap it up?
With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to all those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. Links to all our sites can also be found with our episode archives over on www.focusfirechat.com. Thank you again to Unisys and Demigod for joining us to chat about weapon lore. You guys were amazing. If you want to hear more of their thoughts on this topic, be sure to give them a big shout in the Discord chat. Please be sure to email us at focusfire@gmail.com with any feedback or questions concerning the podcast, and let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback on iTunes or through email as well. There are, of course, a ton of weapons in Destiny, so I want to put this offer out there for everyone. If there was a weapon that we did not discuss in this chat that you would like to hear about, please email us that request so that we can work with Unisys on his new Destiny item lore series, which is being hosted on our YouTube channel, to get a more detailed look at that particular item. We do try to keep to the scheduled Wednesday night streams of the chat, starting at approximately 10 p.m. Central, but if we have any variations, we always make sure to let everyone know through our Twitter account at FocusFireChat. So, until next time, the Lore Band marches on. Okay, let's see. Boop, boop, boom, boom.
Pain's the only sun singer with a beard.
Pains you.
The only what? I'm sorry. So many
No,
things.
You
so many
definitely
things
heard that
there.
properly.
Yeah. There's so many things there. That comment's
Oh.
like an onion. There's layers. First of all,
Not parfait. It's not like parfait. It's like onions.
oh, it's like an onion because it stinks. Something's rotten.
You could hear the bank.
I was typing something, so I was like, yeah, Payne got beard and he's a warlock, and apparently the sun's sinking. Yeah, what? Okay. Julian.
Okay, save that. For the
Oh
love
my
of
god,
God,
I'm
save
gonna
that.
cry.
So,